You know that feeling when you set a goal with complete confidence that this time will be different? Day 1, you're unstoppable. Day 7, you're negotiating with yourself about why tomorrow is a better day to start. Day 14. What goal? Here's what nobody tells you about those 38% of people who set resolutions. Only 9% actually stick with them through February. I've been there, and so have millions of others drowning in the motivation graveyard. But here's what nobody tells you. Motivation is basically the flaky friend of personal development. The real secret isn't waiting to feel inspired. It's learning to force yourself through identity-based action and micro-wins when inspiration has left the building. And the data behind why this approach works will shock you. The brutal truth about 2025 goal statistics. Let's look at what actually happens when people set goals. Research shows that 38% of adults make resolutions, but only 9% actually keep them past February. By February, most enthusiastic resolutions quietly collapse under mounting excuses. The timeline is painfully predictable, and the research doesn't lie. You think you're different this year, right? You've got a better plan, stronger willpower, more motivation than last time. The same thought crossed the minds of every other person who's currently staring at their abandoned meal prep containers and unopened self-help books. The data doesn't care about your intentions, your vision board, or how many productivity YouTube videos you watched while avoiding actual work. Statistics treat everyone equally, and they're telling us that good intentions are about as reliable as weather forecasts. Here's what makes it worse in our current reality. 39% of adults set fitness resolutions and 33% set diet goals, yet most of these ambitious plans crumble within weeks. Social media turns this failure into a public spectacle. Instagram stories showcase day 1 energy with perfectly arranged workout gear and color-coded planners. LinkedIn posts announce ambitious career pivots with corporate buzzword salads. TikTok videos promise transformation in 30 days or less. The comparison game runs 24/7, and every success story you scroll past makes your own struggle feel more personal, more shameful, more proof that something's wrong with you specifically. The instant gratification culture makes everything worse. We expect results at download speeds, but change happens at gardening pace. Apps promise to revolutionize your life, but can't force you to open them after the novelty wears off. Streaming services offer infinite entertainment options that feel more rewarding than the slow, boring work of actual improvement. Online shopping delivers dopamine hits faster than exercise delivers endorphins. The modern world is designed to make giving up feel logical and starting over feel hopeful. Traditional goal-setting advice falls apart in our hyper-connected reality. Write down your goals, they say, as if notebooks have magical powers. Visualize success, they promise, while your brain confuses imagination with achievement. Break it into smaller steps, they suggest, without explaining why. Smaller still feels overwhelming when you're already overwhelmed. Set deadlines, they insist, while life laughs and throws unexpected curveballs at your carefully planned timeline. The advice assumes you live in a bubble where motivation stays constant, distractions don't exist, and willpower never gets tested by Netflix notifications. Motivation behaves like every viral trend you've ever witnessed. Remember when everyone was doing that ice bucket challenge? Lasted about 6 weeks before people moved on to the next thing. Motivation follows the same pattern. It spreads fast, burns bright, gets shared everywhere, then disappears when something shinier comes along. It's the avocado toast of personal development, popular for a moment, but not substantial enough to sustain you long term. People chase motivational intent like they're hunting for the perfect playlist that will finally make them want to exercise, but no song makes burpees enjoyable. Your brain has been hijacked by the same systems that make social media addictive. Every motivational quote gives you a tiny hit of satisfaction without requiring actual effort. Planning feels productive even when no action follows. Buying the gear creates excitement without building the habit. Talking about your goals triggers the same reward pathways as achieving them, which is why announcing intentions often reduces the likelihood of follow-through. Your neural wiring mistakes preparation for progress and gives you credit for work you haven't done yet. The landscape is littered with digital graveyards of good intentions. meditation apps downloaded during stressful moments, then forgotten when stress passes. Workout subscriptions that seemed essential during late-night infomercial binges. Language learning programs started with dreams of fluency, abandoned when conjugating verbs felt harder than watching subtitled movies. Budgeting software purchased during financial panic attacks ignored when impulse purchases called louder than spreadsheet cells. The subscription economy profits from our optimistic future selves, while our present selves hit snooze and order takeout. Fitness trackers sit in drawers counting nothing but dust. Meal prep containers stack unused while delivery apps get daily workouts. Productivity planners remain pristine while to-do lists migrate between random sticky notes. Online courses pile up in digital libraries like expensive bookmarks. The gap between purchase and practice grows wider each year as we mistake buying solutions for implementing them. Successful people operate from completely different assumptions. While everyone else waits for motivation to strike, they've learned to move without it. While others plan perfect conditions, they work with messy reality. While most people treat goals like wishes, they treat them like non-negotiable appointments with themselves. They don't rely on feeling ready because they know readiness is a luxury that rarely arrives on schedule. The uncomfortable truth is that motivation actively works against achievement. It creates dependency on external conditions that you can't control. It makes you believe that inspiration is required for action, when action often creates inspiration. It tricks you into thinking that wanting something badly enough will somehow make doing it easier when difficulty remains constant, regardless of desire level. It sets up an expectation that change should feel good, when most meaningful change feels challenging, awkward, and uncomfortable for much longer than anyone admits. Most people approach their goals with the energy of a sugar rush, intense at first, then crashing predictably. They sprint when they should be training for a marathon. They go all in when they should be going consistently. They rely on peak states when they should be building systems that work during average Tuesday afternoons, when nothing feels inspiring and everything feels hard. Here's what the successful minority figured out that everyone else keeps missing. Motivation isn't the fuel for achievement, it's actually the enemy. It makes you dependent on feelings that fluctuate with weather, sleep quality, and how many likes your last post received. But there's something deeper happening here, something most people never discover about why their own minds work against them, why your brain sabotages you every single time. Your brain is running a sophisticated operation against your goals, and it's time to understand exactly how this works. Every single day, your mind pulls off elaborate schemes that steal your progress while convincing you it's protecting you. The psychological trap isn't obvious because it feels helpful, feels logical, feels like self-care, when really it's sabotage disguised as common sense. Understanding this hidden pattern changes everything about how you approach achievement. Meet Sarah and Mike, two people who decided to start running in January. Sarah approached it like most people do. She bought premium running shoes, downloaded 3 different fitness apps, created detailed training schedules, and posted about her commitment on social media. She researched nutrition plans, watched YouTube videos about proper form, and even bought one of those fancy GPS watches that tracks everything except her actual motivation. For 2 weeks, Sarah felt amazing about her running journey. She loved planning her routes, comparing gear options, and imagining herself crossing finish lines. Then reality hit. Running felt hard, her legs hurt, the weather wasn't perfect, and suddenly all that planning felt more satisfying than the actual sweating. Mike took a different approach. He put on whatever shoes he owned, walked outside, and started moving. No apps, no plans, no announcements. When his brain offered 50 reasons why today wasn't ideal for running, he ignored the negotiations and moved anyway. When running felt uncomfortable, he kept going. When motivation disappeared, he showed up regardless. 6 months later, Sarah was still researching the perfect running plan, while Mike was finishing his first 10K. Your brain operates with programming designed for survival in a world that no longer exists. Evolution wired you for immediate comfort because your ancestors faced real physical threats. When a saber-toothed tiger appeared, hesitation meant death. So your brain learned to prioritize immediate safety over long-term planning. Fast forward to today, and that same wiring treats deadlines like predators, Netflix like shelter, and hard work like unnecessary danger. Your caveman brain experiences the gym as potential threat because physical discomfort triggers ancient alarm systems that scream, "Stop this immediately and find safety." The modern world weaponizes this programming against you. Food delivery apps exploit your preference for immediate gratification. Social media platforms trigger dopamine responses that make scrolling feel more rewarding than productive work. Streaming services offer instant entertainment that requires zero effort, while your goals demand sustained discomfort. Your brain compares these options and consistently votes for immediate pleasure, because it doesn't understand that comfort today creates problems tomorrow. It's like having a security guard who's extremely good at protecting you from imaginary threats while ignoring real ones. Here's where motivation becomes fleeting rather than helpful. Your brain rewards you for planning and visualizing goals, which actually reduces the likelihood you'll achieve them. When you spend time creating vision boards or detailed action plans, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that gets released when you actually accomplish something. This tricks your nervous system into thinking you've already made progress, so the motivation to do actual work decreases. You get the reward without earning it, which is why planning often feels more satisfying than executing. Your brain literally confuses thinking about success with achieving success. Research shows that over half of people abandon their resolutions by February because motivation operates like a mood, not a strategy. Every motivational quote you save, every vision board you create, every time you tell someone about your ambitious plans, you're feeding this system that works against achievement. The dopamine hit from consuming inspirational content gives you a temporary high that substitutes for real progress. Your brain experiences reading, "You've got this," as equivalent to actually doing the work. Vision boards become expensive photo collections that make you feel accomplished while you accomplish nothing. Watch how your brain negotiates you out of hard work, and you'll recognize the pattern immediately. Tuesday morning arrives, and you plan to exercise, but your internal dialogue sounds like a used car salesman. You worked late yesterday, you deserve rest. The weather looks questionable. You don't have the right protein powder. Tomorrow would be better because you'll have more time. You should wait until you feel more motivated. Maybe this weekend when you're less stressed. Your brain generates creative excuses faster than Netflix generates content recommendations, and each excuse sounds completely reasonable in the moment. The goal gradient effect reveals another layer of mental sabotage. Research shows that effort increases as goals get closer, but your brain uses this knowledge against you. When a deadline approaches, your mind creates artificial urgency that makes starting feel overwhelming. Instead of taking small actions early, your brain convinces you to wait until pressure builds, because it knows you'll work harder under stress. This creates a cycle where you procrastinate until panic forces action, then feel stressed and exhausted, which reinforces the belief that working toward goals feels terrible. Your brain's favorite trick involves convincing you that tomorrow will be different. Tonight you feel motivated to wake up early, exercise, eat well, and be productive. Your future self seems capable, disciplined, and ready for challenges. But when tomorrow becomes today, your brain presents you with the same comfort versus effort choice, and suddenly your motivated future self feels like a stranger. This pattern repeats endlessly because your brain experiences planning as separate from executing and assumes that motivation will magically appear when needed. Decision fatigue plays accomplice to these mental crimes. Your brain makes thousands of micro-choices daily, and each decision depletes your mental resources. By afternoon, you're running on cognitive fumes, which makes choosing hard work over easy distraction nearly impossible. Your brain conserves energy by defaulting to familiar, comfortable options, which is why willpower fails predictably as the day progresses. This explains why most people can stick to morning routines, but struggle with evening commitments. Here's the crucial insight that changes everything. Successful people don't have better brains or stronger willpower. They've learned to work with their psychological wiring instead of fighting against it. They understand that motivation is unreliable, dopamine rewards planning more than doing, and comfort always feels more appealing than challenge. Instead of waiting for different feelings, they create systems that bypass feelings entirely. Self-sabotage isn't a character flaw or personal weakness, it's a predictable response to predictable triggers. Once you understand the psychological mechanisms behind goal abandonment, you can design strategies that account for human nature instead of ignoring it. Your brain will always prefer Netflix to hard work, but knowing this allows you to plan accordingly and create systems that make progress inevitable regardless of how you feel. But there's something even more powerful than understanding why your brain works against you. The identity shift that changes everything. There's a mental shift that flips everything upside down and makes willpower irrelevant. But most people never discover it because they're asking the wrong question entirely. Instead of fighting against your feelings or waiting for motivation to rescue you, there's a simple approach that bypasses your emotional brain completely and makes consistent action feel automatic. This isn't about becoming a different person. It's about thinking like the person you want to be before you actually become them. Most people approach goals backwards and wonder why they keep failing. They focus on what they want to do instead of who they want to be. They say things like, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to save $5,000, or I want to start a business. But these action-based goals depend entirely on how you feel in any given moment. When you feel motivated, you take action. When you don't feel motivated, you don't. Your behavior becomes a slave to your emotions, which change faster than weather patterns in spring. Identity-based goals work differently because they start with becoming the type of person who would naturally do those things. Here's how the shift works in practice. Instead of saying, I want to work out, you ask, what would a fit person do right now? Instead of, I should probably study, you think, what would someone serious about their career do in this moment? Instead of, I need to save money, you consider, how would a financially responsible person handle this purchase decision? The difference might seem small, but it changes everything about how your brain processes choices. Let me tell you about Marcus, who struggled with the same goal for 3 years running. He wanted to wake up early and exercise before work, but every morning felt like negotiating with a hostage taker. His alarm would go off and his brain would immediately start the daily court case. You stayed up late last night, you need more sleep. It's cold outside and your bed is warm. You can exercise after work when you have more energy. Tomorrow would be better because you'll go to bed earlier tonight. Marcus tried every motivation trick in the book. Inspirational alarm sounds, workout buddy, accountability apps, even sleeping in his gym clothes. Nothing worked because he was fighting his feelings instead of changing his identity. Everything changed when Marcus started asking one simple question each morning. Instead of debating whether he felt like exercising, he asked, what would the disciplined version of me do right now? This question bypassed all the emotional negotiation because the answer was obvious. The disciplined version wouldn't hit snooze, wouldn't make excuses, wouldn't wait for perfect conditions. The disciplined version would get up, put on shoes, and start moving regardless of how tired, cold, or unmotivated he felt. Within 2 months, Marcus was consistently exercising before work, not because he felt more motivated, but because he was acting from identity instead of emotion. Watch how this plays out during a typical day, and you'll see the difference immediately. Tuesday afternoon arrives and you're supposed to work on an important project, but Netflix is calling your name. The feeling-based decision sounds like this. I don't really feel like working right now. I had a long day and I deserve to relax. I'll work on it tomorrow when I'm more focused. I do better work when I'm in the right mood anyway. The identity-based decision asks, what would someone serious about their success do right now? And the answer doesn't depend on how you feel. Your brain at 6 in the morning when the alarm goes off will always vote for more sleep. But the disciplined version of you doesn't negotiate with comfort. Your brain at 8 at night will always prefer scrolling social media over reading, but the growth-minded version of you chooses learning over entertainment. Your brain facing a difficult conversation will always suggest avoiding conflict, but the confident version of you addresses problems directly. Identity-based decisions remove the emotional component entirely because you're not asking how you feel, you're asking who you are. This approach works even when you're exhausted, stressed, overwhelmed, or completely checked out mentally, because identity doesn't fluctuate with circumstances. You might feel terrible, but the responsible version of you still pays bills on time. You might feel antisocial, but the caring version of you still shows up for friends. You might feel lazy, but the professional version of you still meets deadlines. Identity provides consistency that emotions can't match because it operates independently of your current state. Most people wait to become disciplined instead of acting disciplined first, and this backwards thinking keeps them stuck forever. They believe they need to feel motivated before taking action, need to feel confident before speaking up, need to feel organized before decluttering, need to feel energetic before exercising. But confidence comes from acting confidently. Organization comes from organizing. Discipline comes from doing disciplined things. Even when you don't feel disciplined yet, you don't wait to become the person, you act like the person first. The fitness version doesn't skip workouts because of weather. The entrepreneurial version doesn't make excuses about not having enough time. The organized version doesn't leave dishes in the sink overnight. The studious version doesn't scroll social media during designated learning time. The financially smart version doesn't buy things they can't afford just because they want them. Each identity comes with automatic behaviors that don't require motivation or willpower. Here's what makes this so powerful compared to everything else you've tried. When you operate from identity, your brain stops generating excuses because the decision is already made. There's no internal debate about whether to exercise because fit people exercise. There's no negotiation about whether to save money because financially responsible people live below their means. There's no discussion about whether to study because serious students prioritize learning over entertainment. The identity eliminates choice, which eliminates the mental energy required to choose correctly every single time. This foundation makes every other technique more effective because you're not fighting against yourself anymore. You're not using willpower to force actions that contradict who you think you are. Instead, you're aligning your actions with your chosen identity, which feels natural rather than forced. When someone asks how you stay so consistent, the answer becomes simple. You're not trying to be consistent, you're just being yourself. Identity drives behavior automatically, which means willpower becomes irrelevant for maintaining progress. The person you decide to be today determines what you do today, and what you do today shapes who you become tomorrow. This creates an upward spiral where identity and actions reinforce each other until discipline stops feeling like discipline and starts feeling like personality. But knowing who you want to be is only half the battle, because there's still that moment when you think about taking action and your brain immediately starts generating reasoning that kills procrastination. There's a 6-second window between thinking about doing something and your brain talking you out of it. And if you miss that window, your excuses become more creative than Hollywood screenwriters. Your brain operates like a professional excuse factory, working overtime to keep you comfortable. And the longer you give it to operate, the more elaborate the reasons become for why now isn't the right time. But there's a simple countdown that hijacks this entire system and forces action before your mind can manufacture reasons to quit. The neuroscience behind hesitation reveals why waiting to act guarantees failure. Your brain seeks comfort above everything else and views any change or challenge as potential danger. When you think about doing something difficult, your mind immediately starts generating protective excuses. You don't have enough time right now. You should wait until you're more prepared. Tomorrow would be better. You need to research this more first. These aren't character flaws. They're evolutionary features designed to keep you safe from threats that no longer exist. Your brain can't distinguish between real dangers and the mild discomfort of exercise, difficult conversations, or productive work. The 5-second rule works by counting backwards from 5 to 1, then immediately taking action before your brain can interfere. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then move. The countdown interrupts your mind's excuse-generating process, because counting backwards requires just enough mental effort to short-circuit the automatic resistance patterns. Forward counting feels too much like planning, which gives your brain time to create objections. Backward counting feels more like a launch sequence, which primes your body for immediate action rather than extended deliberation. Picture this scenario. Your alarm goes off at 6 in the morning and your brain immediately starts the daily negotiation. You had a long day yesterday. You deserve more sleep. It's cold outside, your bed is warm. You don't have the right workout clothes ready. You can exercise after work when you're more awake. But if you count backwards, the moment you hear the alarm 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then swing your legs out of bed, your brain doesn't get the chance to present its case for staying horizontal.